Welcome to the Montgomery podcast. We've been really having some internal discussion about what it means to really show up for young people. How do they need us to show up best? Not just in the things we say, but how do we show up in our actions? One of the best ways that we can think to do that is to first have an intergenerational dialogue about some very important issues that young people are facing. You've seen it in the headlines. Public education's under attack. Mental health is on the national headlines because kids, young people, they're struggling. And so in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month in May, we really want to highlight what young people really need from us in order to thrive and be their best selves. So there's no one else I could think of to have, no one else better I could think of to have this conversation with than my mom, Virginia Taylor. She has more than 40 years of experience in education, working in nonprofit settings, counseling, and just being an outstanding human being. Not only a great mom to me, but she's been a mentor to countless young people. She continues to serve even in her retirement years at her church, at her former university's Letter A Club, a local Lions Club, and still finds time to tutor young people. And so she's up close, like I am, to young people, to just hear from them and what they need. And so we don't pretend to know everything. We may not agree on everything. And this is not really a debate, but just a time to have a really candid conversation about the things that we've experienced through our perspectives, and then just talk about some of what we're hearing from the young people that we serve. So my mom is part of, you're a boomer.
Yes.
And I am technically a millennial. If you talk to some others, a zennial. But nonetheless, two different generations represented here. And I'm raising a Gen Z child. So the household is very interesting, I would say. But let's just get started. Let's get started talking, Mom. Or as some people call her, Coach Taylor. But glad to have you on, Mom. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely. Did I get your bio right? Is there anything else important you want to name?
You did great. You did great.
Okay. Awesome. So let's start with education and mental health. Those are our areas. You've been an educator, a coach. You spent the last part of your education career as a school counselor in a rural community. I've been a school psychologist. And we've both seen a lot when it comes to young people. I want you to think back to your educational experience. Think about when you were a young person. What felt most supportive to you when you were growing up, when you think about the school setting you were in?
Well, what was most supportive for me were, first of all, my family. Mm-hmm. My mom and dad basically were not high school graduates, but my dad was up to 10th grade, I believe, if I remember correctly. My mom, 8th grade. But they were very supportive of us with our educational experience. I mean, it was like there were 9 of us, nine children. And one of the main requirements was, first of all, you had to go to church. Mm-hmm. Second of all, you had to graduate from high school. That was big. Several of us did not get a chance to go to college, but we did. We were the only family in our little town where every child graduated from high school. So they were very supportive. And then as I can remember, my teachers were very supportive. I don't remember having a counselor at our little school. And but our teachers were very supportive and they loved us. We established a relationship with our teachers where they showed us love. They showed us support. They showed us respect.
Yeah.
They demanded respect through their teaching experiences as well as through disciplinary actions. You know, we just could not misbehave and disrespect teachers. I mean, that was just not heard of. So that contributed to our mental health growth in that we knew people loved us. We knew our teachers were for us. We knew our parents were for us. And mental health was just not something that we even thought about
Right.
in education. And if we had children or students that were slower, educationally slower than others, they always paired those students with those of us who were better skilled and equipped, had better abilities, and we brought them up to our level.
Yeah.
You know, so we did peer tutoring when we didn't even know we were peer tutoring.
Right.
You know, so there was no such thing when I was in school as special education or children being slow or children being pointed out for not being more knowledgeable than others. They paired us up, and it was our responsibility to bring those children up. And we did. We did that, you know, and it was just the environment was just so loving and supportive, and you knew we were welcomed, and
Right.
the teachers were concerned. And they weren't just concerned about us, they were concerned about our families and our environments at home. And that's where I think the difference may be today.
Yeah.
And if I may continue to elaborate on that part,
Yeah.
okay, because what I think is lacking today is that overall concern for not only the children, but the environment the children are going to at home. These babies, it's like almost like they go to school and it's kind of an unstable environment sometimes. They don't feel safe at school. Sometimes they don't feel their teachers are supportive. And I'm talking about from my experience from listening to these babies that I'm working with now.
Right.
And I heard you talking about the generations. Well, the children the people at the congregation at my church, we have every generation, starting with the silent, going all the way down to the alpha.
Yeah.
And I interact with all of them.
And just for those who don't know the different categories, the silent generation would be about what age right now?
About 99, 100.
Right.
Yeah.
Down to the youngest.
Down
infants.
to the youngest,
Right.
you know. And when I say the youngest, I'm talking about when I interact with these babies at church, some of them are 2 and 3 years old.
Right.
And so I hear them. I listen to them. And
I want you to think back to your educational experience. Think about when you were a young person. What felt most supportive to you when you were growing up, when you think about the school setting you were in?
well, what was most supportive for me were, first of all, my family. My mom and dad basically were not high school graduates, but they were. My dad was up to 10th grade, I believe, if I remember correctly. My mom, 8th grade. But they were very supportive of us with our educational experience. I mean, it was like there were 9 of us, nine children. And one of the main requirements was, first of all, you had to go to church. Second of all, you had to graduate from high school. That was big. Several of us did not get a chance to go to college, but we did. We were the only family in our little town where every child graduated from high school. So they were very supportive. And then as I can remember, my teachers were very supportive. I don't remember having a counselor at our little school. And but our teachers were very supportive and they loved us. We established a relationship with our teachers where they showed us love. They showed us support. They showed us respect.
Yeah.
They demanded respect through their teaching experiences as well as through disciplinary actions. You know, we just could not misbehave and disrespect teachers. I mean, that was just not heard of. So that contributed to our mental health growth, in that we knew people loved us. We knew our teachers were for us. We knew our parents were for us. And mental health was just not something that we even thought about
Right.
in education. And if we had children or students that were slower, educationally slower than others, they always paired those students with those of us who were better skilled and equipped, had better abilities, and we brought them up to our level.
Yeah.
You know, so we did peer tutoring when we didn't even know we were peer tutoring.
Right.
You know, so there was no such thing when I was in school as special education or children being slow or children being pointed out for not being more knowledgeable than others. They paired us up, and it was our responsibility to bring those children up. And we did. We did that, you know, and it was just the environment was just so loving and supportive, and you knew we were welcomed, and
Right.
the teachers were concerned. And they weren't just concerned about us, they were concerned about our families and our environments at home. And that's where I think the difference may be today.
Yeah.
And if I may continue to elaborate on that part.
Yeah.
Okay, because what I think is lacking today is that overall concern for not only the children, but the environment the children are going to at home. These babies, it's like almost like they go to school and it's kind of an unstable environment sometimes. They don't feel safe at school. Sometimes they don't feel their teachers are supportive. And I'm talking about from my experience from listening to these babies that I'm working with now.
Right.
And I heard you talking about the generations. Well, the children the people at the congregation at my church, we have every generation, starting with the silent, going all the way down to the alpha.
Yeah.
And I interact with all of them.
And just for those who don't know the different categories, the silent generation would be about what age right now?
About 99, 100.
Right.
Yeah.
Down to the youngest.
Down
infants.
to the youngest,
Right.
you know. When I say the youngest, I'm talking about when I interact with these babies at church, some of them are 2 and 3 years old.
Right.
And so I hear them. I listen to them. And that's what they need. They need someone to listen to them. Listen to their concerns. Listen to their hurts. And that's what the babies are telling me is not happening at school today.
Right.
I'm sorry, sometimes I get a little emotional, even with talking about it, because they don't feel like they're being heard.
Right.
And if they're not being heard, then sometimes they take matters into their own hands, especially with bullying and
Right.
and the issues that they're having at school
Right.
with fitting in. So
what do you think we need to do different to really center the voices of young people? Because we know it's a problem. You named it. And it's not just a problem where you are. It's a problem in many settings. We're making decisions for young people without including their voices at the center of the decisions. So what can we do differently as adults?
we need to listen and involve them in making decisions. Involve them in I don't know if they still have student councils
Mm-hmm.
in schools.
Yeah.
Get the children's input. I have just started interacting with more at my university with the student athletes, for example, hearing their voice and what they're interested in, what their goals are, what they want us to do as a letter A club. Listen to these young people, hear them.
Mm-hmm.
They have great ideas.
Yeah.
I love working with them because I hear what they're thinking because they open up to me.
Right.
If you establish a relationship with them, and I think that that's a lot of the problem right now, even in the homes
Mm-hmm.
and in the schools and in the communities, in our churches, we're not listening to what the young people have to say. So they feel like they have no ownership. They have no say. So, we're just going to do what we want to do. And sometimes doing what they want to do get them in trouble.
And I want to take it one step further. I think that we are doing better, and we as in society, about creating spaces for young people to share and to talk, but then it just stops. It ends there. There's more we need to do, like actually using their thoughts, their feedback to really change policies and systems, especially those that directly impact them. So earlier, I wrote a blog about this very thing, about actually it is. It was very practical ways that school districts can center the voices of young people through what some call student advisory councils, others call them advisory boards. So similar to student council, but unlike student council, again, that's for very local decisions, which are important, to a local, education agency or a local campus. But I'm talking about advisory councils or advisory boards that actually get to consult with the superintendent of districts or the school boards of districts. And there are some systems that are doing it very well, where they really have young people at the table and have them sharing about their experiences and the experiences of their peers and actually using that information to tailor the policies for that district. So that's the level of engagement that we're still trying to work on as a society. And honestly, we're kind of going backwards when I think about everything that's happening in the political arena and how school districts are impacted and how students who are already marginalized and disenfranchised are probably going to be heard less. So we, me, you, other adults, have to be very adamant and vocal about making sure that these young voices are heard at the table. So, yes, we've made some progress, right? But there's still so much more we need to do in making sure that we equip our young people to continue using their voices for change.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that education has become too politicized. There are too many people making decisions about how the educational system should operate who have no experience in education in the first place.
That part. Mm-hmm.
And that's been since when I was in the classroom and in coaching and all of that. Even on your school boards, your local school boards, you have people making critical decisions about education who have no idea, who have no experience,
Right.
who have no interest, in my opinion. And that may be a strong word, but that's what I believe
Yeah.
is happening. And as a result, education has become so structured. They've taken the fun out of it when it comes to and my heart goes out to the teachers, because I was in the classroom for 25 years as a classroom teacher and a coach, so I know what they're going through. And my husband told me years ago, he said, you can reach more children, because he knew my heart. He said, you could reach more children if you go into counseling than you can with coaching, because basically while I was coaching and a classroom teacher, I was also counseling them and listening to them, establishing a relationship with them where I understood their concerns. I understood what they were going through at home and all of this. So I did go and get my master's in counseling so that I could do more. But still, that did not, I feel like I made a difference. I have grown students today who still respect me, who still call me Coach Taylor, who still love me because of the interaction that I had with them. It was a personal interaction. God bless the teachers today, because they don't even get an opportunity to do that kind of interaction, because education is now so structured and so politicized that it's all about testing. It's all about you don't have time to interact. You don't have time to listen to students. You don't have time to be even concerned about their personal lives, because you're busy trying to meet the standards that are set for you to, as a teacher, to bring the student to the level that they think they don't understand. If you have the right relationship with a child, you can get that child to do anything you want that child to do. I never had problems getting my students to do anything I wanted them to do, because they knew Coach Taylor loved them. And that's not what's happening. I listen to my babies when I'm working with them at church, and they tell me, they don't listen to us at school. I tell them this. I tell them somebody's bothering me. I tell them something, and they don't do anything. And then when I retaliate by hitting, then I'm punished because I hit to defend myself. It's, I'm sorry, y'all. It's disheartening to see where education is going, and like you said, to me, it is going backwards. The children are not actually getting what they need educationally, because they're trying to meet the poor teachers are trying to meet the norms that have been established. And for example, I'm tutoring a 6th grader right now, and this soon will be testing time. And when I work with him, I've been working with him since he was 4th grade. And looking at the techniques, the methods that they use to teach the children, and I'm going, oh my God, no wonder these children are confused. And they're not grasping. But it's because of the structure that is placed on the teachers and the techniques and all that they're using. And the students are not grasping what they should be grasping. They have taken things out of the system. For example, phonics, handwriting. These babies don't even know how to write in cursive. If they ever come into a situation where they have to sign their signatures on, they wouldn't be able to do it, because it's not that's not being taught anymore. So I guess I'm just kind of on my soapbox about how education has changed, and that puts a stress on the children when they're not succeeding and they're not grasping. And then you talk about, I have never heard of children having mental health issues so young, like today. But that's because, first of all, they don't feel safe at school. They don't feel loved at school. And then some of them go home to environments that are kind of the same. Okay. Then in the community, they have issues in the community. And so the church tries to be a bonding, to bring all of that together. And I just want to be encouraging to the parents. And I thank God for the grandparents and the great grandparents.
Right.
Because when you talk about
Stepping in.
going across generations, they step in.
Right.
And they're helping their grandchildren. And the children have to learn how to respect and listen to the wisdom that's going forth from the older generations, because we may not be able to keep up with the technology.
Right.
Because it's the technology that's a lot of the problems with our children. They have too much unsupervised screen time.
Yeah. You said something, though. The grandparents, great-grandparents may not have the knowledge about all of the technology, but they have the wisdom to impart.
Yes.
I think that is important to name. And at the same time, the level of energy I think we try to put into young people as well to equip them. For those of us who care and we feel called, and that's our mission, I think we need to do the same with our grandparents who are raising grandchildren, equipping them with the tools, because this is something that they will have to deal with and encounter. And I don't think it's helpful for them to continue to walk in this unknown territory. So we have to give them tools and information so they know, one, how to talk with, how to engage with their grandkids, how to relate, right? But also we should be continuing to encourage young people to honor, this wisdom
exactly
that comes from their grandparents and great-grandparents who have walked before them, right? I think both are equally important, because sometimes what I've also heard, and I hear it sometimes with my own kiddo as well, that you don't understand, you can't relate. And that may be true, because my experiences, your experiences, much different than what they're facing today. This is something, you and I talked about the other day. We can make mistakes privately. We can make mistakes in our own school communities and it remain there. You might be embarrassed. You might, have to live with, the mistakes that you made locally. But now, because of social media and other outlets, people are making mistakes on a world stage and then having to rebound from that. That's hard when you think about, or not even just making a mistake, but being bullied. Locally, you might be able to deal with that if it was just something that occurred within the walls of your school setting or your community setting or your church setting. Maybe adults can intervene and address that issue. But when it's taken to a global platform, now it's changed.
Exactly.
And not only do I have to deal with being bullied, humiliated in the spaces that I exist in, but now in these unknown places where there are real people trolling online or just bots trolling online that you believe they're real folks, but they're not. And they're continuing to, perpetuate what's already happening. And now you have to figure out, as a young person who's still in a very critical development phase, who's still trying to develop your executive functioning, now you have to figure out, how do I cope with this? Which leads to young people taking their lives.
The stress, the mental illness, and,
right.
and again, the suicide.
Correct.
Because they can't cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
And because they are so unsupervised in their social media platforms that they're participating in, their wisdom is not to the point of where I need to not do this. Mm-hmm. They do all their venting, they do all their teasing, they do all their meanness and all of this, their vengeance, the retaliation. They do all of that on social media, and it's hurtful. And what young people also need to realize, if you're planning on going to college, or if you're planning on applying for that dream job, and you have a social media platform that's out there, society will establish their own norms, their own requirements, their own expectations of you. So if you don't meet their expectations of what kind of student they want to admit to their colleges, and it's becoming very, very competitive, and they have a right to not admit you based on their standards, their criteria. Same thing with employers. So if you have a background on your social media that's unpleasing to them, you're restricting and hindering your future growth, your future livelihood. So all of this has to be brought to their attention. That's why more supervision needs to be given with them when they're on their iPads and on their smartphones. And now they're getting smartphones younger and younger.
Right.
I had one in children's church, and he was saying, "Oh, I got an iPhone 17 in my pocket." I said, "That's where you need to keep it, in your pocket."
Yeah.
Because we do not need your iPhone 17.
Yeah.
In right here, not now.
Right. And we know that schools are actually taking measures right now to actually remove cell phones anyway, from the environment, I guess, in the hopes to protect young people, but also to keep them focused on the academic task at hand. But I know for parents that the removal of devices is disconcerting, because they've also been safety nets and ways for young people to communicate in emergency situations.
And not only are they safety nets, even in the educational setting, children don't even go to libraries much anymore.
Yeah.
They're doing all their research on technology. So it's hard to take away their devices when they need the devices to do their schoolwork or their projects,
Right.
or whatever they're doing. So again, it's hard for parents to monitor everything that they're doing on social media. That's why instead of monitoring the devices, train up your children, monitor them, instill in them morals and values and what they should and should not do, and show that you trust them to do the right thing.
Right.
Because they have to make decisions and discern right from wrong based on their teaching.
Right.
And not only should that teaching come from home, it should also come from school. Teaching them how to properly use their technology devices, okay, and what they should not be doing on their technology devices, because they're needful.
Right. As we close up this section on education and mental health, or the state of education and mental health in America, what is one word of hope, message, encouragement that you would leave with young people after having this conversation?
I see these young people doing great things because they're intuitive. They have great ideas, innovative ideas. It's just they need attention. They need guidance. They need for the older generations to keep imparting wisdom in them and how to use all of these skills and tools and abilities that they have. We need to channel them in the right direction, because they are going to do great things. They're already doing great things.
Right.
I look at on social media, some of these babies that are already entrepreneurs. And much of what their businesses that they're establishing are businesses that are helping others. That's what's so encouraging. They have a diverse. They have diversity in their friendships. So they don't see prejudices and differences like older people do. They work together. Their sense of teamship is awesome.
Yes.
Like when I'm working with them in children's church, they do so much better when I give them projects and things that they work together, and I watch how they corroborate, and we just have to teach them, because the competition is there.
Right.
They're very competitive. And we just have to channel that competitiveness so that it's not hurtful to them. But I see great things with I am so hopeful for these younger people. And even when I say younger people, I'm talking about people in their 40s and 50s. And yeah, great things.
Great things. Well, what a powerful word to end on. And I agree with you. There is so much hope for our young people if we continue to do our part as the older generations to make sure that they continue to have access in safe spaces to be able to communicate their needs to us. And so in this next segment, we'll expand this conversation into faith-based communities, intergenerational understanding and hope, so that we can really talk about how to show up for young people and how to support them without judgment. Well, again, I want to thank Ms. Taylor for joining us joining us today on the Montgomery podcast. We have some more work to do, but as she's already shared, we've made progress. And we know that we still have more that we need to do to really show our young people that we are standing with them and that we hear them, we value them, and that there is a space at the table for them. Thank you again for joining us at the Montgomery. We look forward to you tuning in next time.